All right, I'm Olivia. I am currently I've suspended my studies, but I'm kind of halfway through my second year at the University of Bristol, and I'm currently at home in California.
So, what course do you do?
Of course, I do politics and social policy,
At what university?
University of Bristol.
So, just to kind of explain to some students, you're a US student who study in the UK, US citizen.
No, I'm not a US citizen, I'm a UK citizen.
Okay, so how come you're in America then?
I moved here when I was 4 for my dad's job, but I've always wanted to go back to England. I love it here in California, but I had a dream of moving back to England for uni since I was like 12.
So, would you like to tell us about your YouTube?
Yeah, my YouTube is basically just me talking about university life and talking about what it's like to go to the University of Bristol and what it's like to be an American in England.
Hey, so can you remind us of the course you chose at University of Bristol?
Yeah, social policy and politics. However, it wasn't always that. I switched my course after about the second week. I was doing politics and philosophy,
Okay.
but I realized philosophy was not really for me. So I found social policy and did that instead.
So, why did you choose to kind of? What was the kind of the big thing that said, "This is not for me"? Why did you change course?
Well, I had never done philosophy before. I think most of the people that were doing the course had done it at A level, and so I didn't have any prior knowledge, as everyone else did. So I felt immediately behind on the first day, and it was also not as connected to politics as I thought it would be. It was a different side of philosophy than I was kind of expecting. So I needed to change course as soon as possible.
That's all right. So, what do you think of the course you're doing?
I absolutely love it. I think I surprisingly like social policy more than the politics side of things, just because it's a lot more connected to the real world, whereas politics is a lot more theoretical and about sort of like the history and stuff. So I found it really interesting. But yeah, it's surprising that social policy has become my favorite part of it.
Okay, so this question might in America,
Yeah,
as you said, you grew up in America, so implying you went to high school in America.
yeah.
So, do they have like subjects and A levels, or how does that?
There are no A levels because it's not like a national curriculum. There's no big national exams except for the SAT and the ACT, but those are just like standardized, like not really about a specific subject, and everyone takes them. So that didn't really play a part in getting into uni, but we didn't have anything like A levels. The closest thing is something called APs, which are like advanced placement courses. So it does have a really big exam at the end of the year that's like a national thing, but they're optional. One takes them. They just kind of at American unis mean you get to take higher levels of subjects. Like you start off at a higher level of maths than you would before.
Okay,
Um, so I took a lot of these AP classes, and that's basically what they used as an equivalent to A levels.
okay.
So
So obviously, you said you're like halfway through your second year. What do you
yes,
suggest, kind of subject wise slash APP slash A levels for your course would be best to kind of give you a good advantage?
I mean, I think you don't actually need any prerequisites to do it, but I think anything that's kind of essay based,
Maybe
something like
English.
maybe English, but something more like history, or
Okay, so
if
like
you can do
heavy.
like something where you are writing very, very analytically about true things that have happened.
All
Also,
right.
I think something like sociology, stuff like that could be really useful.
Okay, so just a reminder, you go to the University of Bristol.
Yes.
So what are the best and worst things about going to the University of Bristol? We'll start off with the worst.
The worst. Okay.
Worst.
The is probably kind of the lack of mental health support in Bristol. I think it's kind of been notorious for having pretty poor mental health support. So I'd say that's probably the worst part.
Could you go into that and like why is there something there or is it just nothing non-existent?
There is stuff there. However, like I think Bristol has the most amount of suicides as any university, which is like
Beautiful.
it's not a good thing to be notorious for. And I think it's just the wait lists for all of the counseling and stuff is like weeks to months. So
Okay.
I think it's just there's so many people with like issues that they don't
Yeah.
have enough space for everyone, and so
Okay.
it's not, they need to increase it a lot more, I think. I'm
Hey,
actually
and
making
anything else?
anything else that's the worst.
Or like really bad, like
Oh, it's really hilly.
hilly,
Yeah. So
like
like anywhere
walking.
you're walking, if you want to walk, like you are going up a very steep hill most of the time. Like
Is it a good workout then?
it is a good workout, but like after a night out in the,
Oh, of
like 3
course.
a.m., you're not
The
gonna want to
last
walk
thing.
up a giant
That
hill.
makes sense. So
Yeah.
what are
Oh,
the and it's expensive. What is it?
yeah, finding housing is very expensive.
We'll get onto housing a bit later. So what is the best things about Bristol University?
The best thing is just the city itself. I love it so much. It's gorgeous. So many beautiful houses and the Clifton Suspension Bridge, which is gorgeous. And I also love the nightlife. It is so fun. It's one of the most social, music filled places. Like we go out every night, doesn't end till 4 a.m. It's
Beautiful.
lots of fun.
Okay. So going into Bristol's accommodation, do
Mhm.
you live in student halls or in a house?
I lived in a private flat with a couple girls. I was in student halls in my first year, but
So
only in first.
if we go back to first year,
Yeah.
what student halls did you live in?
I was in Wills Hall, which is in Stoke Bishop or the North Village of Bristol, which is kind of known as more of like the little community campus type area. All the halls kind of share the same space, whereas in other parts of the university, the halls are kind of just their own individual buildings, like in the city centre. So, yeah.
And what did you think?
I thought it was really good because I did get to meet a lot of people in other halls in the same area, and I was in a catered hall. So, with it being catered, I met a lot of people that were outside of just like my flat. Whereas I know in a lot of other halls, they didn't really socialize with anyone other than the people in their immediate flat. So,
Okay. So what do you think so if you go into your second year, you're living in a
yeah.
house. What is the difference between living in student halls and a house?
Well, for me, the biggest difference was being catered, not being catered, because I had to make all of my own meals. So I got to be really creative with the food I was making, also having to clean everything myself. We used to get our like bathrooms cleaned by the university cleaners, but in second year, obviously, I didn't have that. And it was also good because I got a lot closer with the people that I chose to live with versus the people that were just randomly selected.
Okay. So what do you think the best Bristol accommodation is?
I mean, I'm gonna say my one. I think Will's is, but a lot of people seem to love Goldney. That seems to be everyone's favorite because it's just as gorgeous, I think, and it
Oh.
has really nice gardens. So everyone seems to like that one.
Okay, so if we go into Bristol's area, like you said, it's really amazing. What are the must do's in Bristol?
Ooh, the must do's. Well, you've got to go to the Corrie Tap, which is a pub, and they've got really, really strong cider, and everyone has to go there and try it and do the 10 before 10 challenge, just 10 half pints of their really strong cider before 10 p.m. It's a Bristol student tradition. Everyone
Must.
does it on their birthdays and things like that. You have to do that. And while you're in Clifton, seeing the Clifton Suspension Bridge is really just like it's like the icon of Bristol. If you look up a picture of Bristol, you're most likely just going to see the bridge. So definitely go to that.
What's the nightlife like?
The nightlife is the best. There's so many different like types of places and clubs to go to. Like there's music venues, there's so many pubs and bars and so many different clubs ranging from like your Prism and Pop World to big giant drum and bass clubs, like one called Motion, which is massive. It's one of the best clubs in the country. And but there's also just little pub or little clubs that just play
Anything.
throwbacks and fun dance music. Like you there's such a range
Hmm.
and there's so many options. Like I feel like I've been to so many clubs and I still haven't been to most of them.
Still
So
more to explore.
so many more to explore.
Hey, so what are the shops like in Bristol? So are there like a wide variety of shops? It's kind of just like the basics.
There's definitely lots of shops. I mean, it's a pretty big city. Like we've got a big shopping mall in the city centre called Cabot Circus, and that's got like any sort of high street shop you could ever ask for, like a top shop and stuff like that.
It's everything.
everything basically. But then there's also on a road called Gloucester Road and all over the city is a lot of thrift shops, a lot of charity shops. So you can get lots of cool fashion things from those shops. Lots of shoe shops. Like there's a really wide variety, and there's basically every grocery store you could ever imagine.
Okay, so what is the job prospects? Do you have a job yourself while at Bristol?
I do not have a job while I'm at Bristol, but I am hoping to when I go back.
Are there a lot
Um,
of jobs in Bristol?
I mean, there's tons and tons of like food shops and coffee shops, and I know lots of people that work in the bars and the clubs at night. So I know quite a few people that do have jobs. Like I have a friend who works at a school nearby, is like a dinner lady there. So
Okay.
I mean, there's tons of options. I'm probably thinking of working in a pub or a coffee shop or something like that.
And what are the societies like at Bristol?
There's lots of societies, tons of sports ones, lots and lots of charity ones. There's like more charity ones than I can think of. Every subject basically has its own society. There's lots and lots of law ones I've noticed. There's like at least 5 separate law clubs. Um, so yeah, it's really, really busy. Like at our Freshers Week, we have 3 massive tents full to
Of
the brim.
societies.
So there's tons of societies.
So going back into what you said before, you said from when you were 12, you knew you were going to come to obviously England to study.
Yeah.
So what is it like living in from America from 4 years old to being in England from 18? So obviously that's like what 14 years apart in America,
Yeah.
and now you've come. Obviously you were born in England, but obviously you left young. So coming back, what is the difference between obviously being in California and the UK?
Yeah, well, I had visited England a lot because I have a ton of family there. So it's like, it wasn't like I had been away from it for 14 years. Like, I go back like almost every year. So I had kind of recognized it. And like every year I went, I was like, oh my God, I want to live here because I just like, I love the food and I like the people a lot better. And I just like the scenery of everything. I just preferred it. But I think the main difference is obviously the weather is going to play a big part. Like today it's like 30 degrees, it's
Mm,
like very warm,
mm,
nice, and then in England it's just like raining half the time.
beautiful. That's the English
But to be
weather.
honest, I don't like hot weather, so I kind of like being in England. Most of my clothes are like coats and jackets
Hey.
anyway, so I'm just like, get me to the cold weather. Also like food on like a night out and stuff, just nights out in general are really different. Like there's no like kebabs here. Like you don't get like a kebab, like a doner and chips on a night out here.
You can't get a kebab in Bristol.
No, here in
Oh, in
California.
California. Oh, okay. I was gonna say because in England, there are
No,
a lot
in
of
Bristol
places.
it's like it's kebab central. Chips and kebabs everywhere. Whereas here it's like I got my first like pita wrap with like
Stuff
doner meat
like
and stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, this like takes me back to uni because you just like can't get them here unless you go to like a very specific like Greek
place.
place.
So, say if someone was living in America slash California, what would
You're
you?
frozen up a bit.
Oh, sorry. Are we back?
Yeah, we're
So
back.
I was gonna say, what would be your like biggest things to like for them to prepare for when going from university in America to the UK? Because obviously they're going to be away from home. So
Yeah.
aside from going on your YouTube and checking out what the difference is, what would you say like
Obviously do
what would
that.
you say they need to like kind of prepare for in a way?
I think you'd have to prepare for obviously the way people talk, there's a lot
How
of
do we
slang. There's a
what
lot of slang in England
can we
that
can
you just
we let's go into some English slang that you've learned.
one of my friends says calm all the time, like,
Calm, so it's very
oh
calm.
calm.
Uh,
Like, oh, we should go to the pub tonight. Oh yeah, calm.
so
I think it's a London thing. I don't
what is
know.
your inference of calm? What do you think it means?
It means like cool.
Yeah.
Like what I would say was if someone's like, "Hey, we should go out tonight," I'll be like, "Oh yeah, cool. That sounds good." But my friend would say, "Oh, calm."
Can we get like let's some more English slang? Because I've never had an American tell me an
Um,
English slang.
I don't know what else. Just saying some things like peng. People don't say peng, or like just shagging. That's something people don't say in America. Like there's just lots of words that you just use for everyday things,
Mm,
or like even just things like saying taking the piss. Like that's not a thing in
it's
America.
not a thing in America.
No,
What would be the American version of saying that?
you just say you're talking shit.
Ah, okay. Okay. So it's just like a whole different, like learning a new language in a way with the English slang.
Basically, yeah. Like I knew a lot of it because I
Like you
had
said, you came over and
like
family.
I knew a few like my family and
Yeah.
stuff, like all of that. My older sister has lived in England most of her life. So I knew a lot of the slang, but most of it, like the more young people's, the
Oh, it's like
newer
the newest
slang,
slang. Yeah.
I am like, wait, what? Because I don't listen to like English like rap or anything like that either. So I guess like a lot of the slang is in those songs, and I'm just like I don't know what's like wagwan.
Go on, go on. Okay, that's it.
My friend Shingy, he says that all the time, and I'm just like, it took me so long to realize what he was saying.
Okay. So obviously like so one of the biggest things is getting used to the language and kind of the slang.
Yeah,
Would would
and what else is there?
just kind of prepare. Kind of just like a
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're gonna have to prepare for being an international student and people being like, "Oh my God, you're from America. Oh my God, you sound so American." So that's a pretty common occurrence. But I mean, I think the people are nice. You speak the same language if you're from America. Like, it's not
it's not
that.
nice.
I think the main difference as well is just in the schooling itself, like in the way you learn. There's a lot more independent,
Oh,
like
can you
quizzes
just
and
say that
stuff.
again? Sorry, it
There's
froze.
a lot more like independent study in
So what do you mean?
you have less classes. Like in
Oh,
America,
okay.
you're going to your lectures and stuff really often, and you have a lot more like in-class quizzes, and you're graded on participation and stuff. Whereas here, you're kind of not babied as much.
We can just
You're like,
throw you in
or
the deep end.
in England, you're just kind of like, okay, here you go. You have a whole year of classes and one exam at the end. That's your entire grade. Good luck.
Okay.
Whereas in America, it's like you have a quiz every week and you have all these homework assignments. It's kind of
Mm.
more like school.
So it's more in the UK. It's kind of just like you said. There's no one to pat your back the whole way through. It's kind of just
Exactly.
look.
But it's
Here's
also it's not that scary because they do kind of guide you into university in the first few weeks. But like once you're kind of like settled in, it's like it's more like doing a job and having like big assignments and projects instead
oh,
of just like more school.
okay. So
Yeah.
you, as you said, from a young age, you've always wanted to study in the UK. So why did you choose university over an apprenticeship slash working?
Well, I never really, in America at least, it's not a big thing to do apprenticeships or work immediately. Like, I always wanted a university degree, and I always thought that was just the way I was going to go about.
So it's kind of just always been inside just to
It's always,
go
yeah, both my
uni.
parents went to university. I thought it was
What?
just what I wanted to do. Also, just with jobs afterwards, like, I want to, since I'm doing politics, I want to go into something political or do law afterwards, do a law conversion. So I kind of need a degree to do that. So
Okay, so it's kind of needed in a way.
yeah,
So if someone offered you the degree but on an apprenticeship, would you still go to university or would you take the apprenticeship?
it depends what the apprenticeship is.
What do you mean by that?
Like if I got an apprenticeship to like work in parliament, like I would take that and not go to university because that's an indirect, like that's just directly into the job field I want to go into.
Hey,
I mean, that's really unlikely because you most of the time need a bachelor's
degree,
degree
yeah.
to go into those things. So
So can you
it's a
tell
very
us
hard field to get into.
more about your YouTube?
Yeah. So I basically started it about a year and a half ago, but I had also been making videos since I was like 12. Just random videos, but they're all deleted or privated now, so you can't watch those. But I started like my channel that I have now about a year and a half ago. And I basically just did it because I wanted to tell people about my experience of going to Bristol and applying to UK unis as an American. Um, and it just kind of took off from there. I watched YouTubers like Eve Cornwell and Eve Bennett and Ruby Granger and all these various UK university YouTubers, and I was inspired and kind of wanted to do what they did and talk about university and give some advice because I know when I was going into university, I looked up on YouTube like all the possible things I could about Bristol and about going to university. So I wanted to make more of those videos. And I've gotten lots of comments from people that are like, I'm starting university in Bristol in September. I'm super excited. Your videos are really helpful, and it's like I like being able to help people with that.
Really cool. So obviously, we are having to have a video call because you can't physically meet up in person. So
Yes.
how are you holding up during COVID-19?
To be honest, the hardest part is just being completely across the world from England and all my friends from uni. Because like even when lockdown gets out, I'm not going to be able to fly back immediately to England, which kind of sucks. So I mean that's the hardest part, but also it's not been that bad because I'm a bit of a homebody and I like to stay home, watch YouTube, make YouTube. I've really gotten into TikTok recently.
In your
Like
prime then?
I'm just kind of chilling. I don't have any
You
responsibilities right now.
let
So I've been doing some like delivery driving just to make some extra money because it's the only job I can do right now.
okay.
But other than that, it's not been that bad to be honest. Just a bit
So
lonely.
obviously you said you had to stop your studies and come home to America.
Yeah.
So how has it affected your course?
Basically, so what I wanted to do was just take one term out and then start back in September. But since I had already completed my first term of second year, like I had done exams and coursework and all that, it was already graded. So I basically couldn't repeat it. Um, so I had to start at the second term. And so in order to do that, I had to start in January. So I'm taking basically a whole year out. And it hasn't really affected much, just because it's basically like I'm taking a pause. Like I stopped halfway through the year. I'd already gotten all my exams and everything out of the way. So now it's just a matter of going straight back in January and pretending I never even left. But I guess the hardest thing that it's affected is finding housing for next year, because it's hard to find housing halfway through the year. And I'm kind of between deciding, I'm trying to come back in September and potentially work.
Okay. And then
Because
kind
I'm
of
just desperate to get back to Bristol, to be honest.
that's good.
So
So
but
at
it's
this
all dependent on COVID and whatnot, like if I can fly.
so at this point we let students kind of give a summary of everything we've talked about. Obviously, tell
Yeah.
us your apps, where they can find you, your YouTube, Facebooks, Instagram, Twitters, everything, and then kind of just like we said, like you could either just say just talk a summary of what we spoke about, or give like a quote, or be like, if you're from America and you're going to the UK to study, this is the advice I give you, and etc. etc. This is all you. Floor's
Yeah.
yours.
Well, I've been Olivia. You can follow me on my Instagram, which is just at Olivia Morris, and my YouTube if you just search Olivia Morris or search Livisome, Livisome 123. That's my official YouTube handle. It was made when I was 12. Ignore that. And be sure to follow my Twitter as well, which is at Olivia Morris 0, and my TikTok, which is Olivia Charlotte 0. And yeah, it's been really good talking to you, and hopefully any Americans out there that go to university in England or are thinking of going to university in England can check out my channel, or anyone that goes to the University of Bristol, because I would love to make some new friends and connect with some more people that are doing the same thing I'm doing. So yeah.
So if you just want to end the video with, don't forget to like,
Mhm.
subscribe, and I'm plugged in.
Okay. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'm plugged in.
Lit.